1, 2, 3.
This is the Holla Story, a branded podcast from Holla Spirits and Our York Media, about two lifelong friends who set out to challenge the spirit industry and create a vodka brand for millennials like them. I'm Rebecca Hanlon of Our York Media, and we're back again with Pat Shorb and Matt Glaser, the co-founders of Holla Spirits. In our first two episodes, we talked about how Holla got started, from just being an idea to finally getting on the shelves of Pennsylvania liquor stores. And now we're about a year after that from when you guys first got on store shelves. You've got some momentum. So what are we looking at as next for Holla?
Gosh, we've got a lot on the agenda. Let's start with, we've got 2 new flavors or infusions rolling out here in the next few months. We're going to roll out the lemon that we discussed previously, and then an orange product that we're pretty excited to release. Part of that includes a new website where within Pennsylvania, the PLCB has allowed in-state companies to ship spirits directly to consumers within state borders, and that's a huge shift. This is a trend that's taking place sort of across the country as, people get accustomed to ordering their goods and products online, and spirits and beer and wine are just following that trend. So with that, we're going to release sort of an innovative package, kind of like a direct-to-home, not like sort of like a meal kit, but except you're going to be buying vodkas. And instead of using glass, we're going to go with a eco-friendly pouch that took a lot of time and effort to sort of put together and search for the right type of material or packaging to get that inexpensively to a consumer direct to their house, and obviously avoid all the other challenges of going to the store, waiting in line, taking an Uber, getting a taxi, whatever. All those challenges are now dismissed when we can deliver it right to your home.
So somebody would be going to your website or PA liquor stores. Where would they go to be ordering that?
Direct to our website, www.hollaspirits.com, and you can order directly on there. It's going to be mobile optimized, and a couple clicks and your vodka's on the way.
So why a bag or a pouch?
Glass is heavy. Glass is expensive. It's fragile.
Yeah, the primary hurdle right now for online sales is essentially the shipping cost. I mean, obviously they have to do adult signature required since it's an alcoholic beverage, so you're looking at like a roughly $5 flat cost right off the get-go. So anything we can do to lower the shipping cost from that point on just makes it a more attractive option to people. The problem we're running into right now is it's about the same shipping cost for a single bottle or a whole case. So, I mean, for somebody that just wants to try one bottle, that becomes a little pricey to almost pay twice as much just to get it shipped to your house. So we're hoping with this new strategy, we'll be able to take more advantage of that growing trend of people getting things delivered to their home directly.
So when will that be available?
Should be available. We're shooting for April 1
for
that to be released and launched within PA. Again, it's just only shipped within PA borders. Unfortunately, the laws that still exist don't allow us to go outside that realm yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you envision that changing things for you? Just being able to have that as an outlet to be able to reach your consumers?
I feel like it's more on point with the millennial demographic that we're going after. I mean, everyone's aware of how big Amazon's gotten recently, and I mean that is basically what a lot of people are referring to as the blueprint for commerce going forward. So I mean, why not try to take advantage of that? I mean, we have a generation that's accustomed to being able to easily shop online and have stuff delivered to their home. Why not take that into the spirits industry as well?
How did you guys come up with that concept? I mean, obviously you had an issue with like the glass being a really big pain to ship.
Yeah.
So how did you come to that conclusion that this would solve your problem? It does, but I'm wondering the process.
It's just the way we shop. I buy most of my stuff online at this point and just get a little lazy on occasion. It's like, well, if we can ship our spirits direct to consumer, then let's figure out a better way to do it. Shipping the glass is just not, cost effective or easy at all, and you risk breakage and everything else. So if we can get it we spent a lot of time. We were trying to look at milk jugs, Tetra Pak, all the different style packages out there, and ultimately settled on this really nice pouch. It's got handles. You can put a carabiner on it, clip it to your book bag, take it to a festival, take it boating, take it to a tailgate, the beach, what have you, and it just seemed like the ideal solution. It's got a little spout on it, and a lot easier than the glass thing and worrying about breakage and stuff like that.
Okay.
So.
And like you said, we really didn't have to like reinvent the wheel or anything. I mean, a lot of this alternative packaging's already being used in other products, so it was just a matter of identifying which one we thought we could repurpose for vodka.
Gotcha. Okay. So, in addition to that, you have some exciting news. You're bringing some things home.
We are. Excuse me. So we started obviously with Rhiannon in the Pottstown area and setting up a facility out there originally. We've been working out of our houses now for a couple years, and with kind of the growth we're seeing, it was time to bring it back to York. So we recently made the decision to move into a new warehouse, and that move is currently ongoing. So took a little bit of construction to get the building up to speed for what we're going to be doing there, put in some new lighting, doing some painting, getting the floors ready, and we're pretty excited to be, bringing everything back, and that gives us the ability to do more, not just the current products that we have. It gives us flexibility to be out there a lot more and messing with different stuff, or new infusions or new packages or that kind of thing. So pretty excited about that. It's been a long time coming, and we're happy to have that behind us now.
You guys both live in York.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the challenges that you had in having this facility out in Pottstown, but you guys were primarily here?
I mean, we're still experiencing them. I mean, just to do a simple bottling run to the day, we have to account for roughly 3 hours of being on the road just driving. So, I mean, that cuts into a production schedule. Anytime we have to prep a shipment for shipment to the PLCB warehouses, it's usually me, but one of us has taken a hour-plus drive out to the facility just to do 15 minutes worth of plastic wrapping and putting a label on, and then we got to drive back home. So, I mean, that alone is going to almost make the move worthwhile, just cutting down on the traffic for us going back and forth to the facility.
Yeah.
So what was important to you guys then in finding the right space in York? What were you looking for? What did you need?
We knew what we were doing in terms of the operation and the bottling, so we didn't need a ton of space, but we needed obviously a place that had access to a dock and was easily accessible to other locations. So the way the PLCB set up, they have 3 main warehouses throughout the state, and York, being not just a central location for Pennsylvania, is one of the best distribution hubs in the country. So if we ship out of York, we can ship to Philly or Pittsburgh or State College or even Erie within 3 to 6 hours max to get those shipments out. And I think the direct to home will be even nicer. We can ship to consumers throughout the state that otherwise have never heard of us or would never venture down this way to check us out.
How does it feel? You're not in that facility yet, but you will be soon,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
How is it going to feel having that production and bottling and everything kind of in your back door now?
I think it helps, kind of add credibility to the identity we're trying to build here. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now we're in the awkward situation of explaining how we live and work out of our homes in New York, but we have our production facility in Pottstown. So it's just a lot easier moving forward when we're trying to tell people how we're this York-based brand, that everything is actually going to be centralized in York then.
Yeah, and we want to be part of the York revival. We were born here, grew up here, live here, play here, eat here, family's here, and it's like, this is our home, and we want to associate with that and be a part of everything else that's going on downtown and throughout the county, which is really cool to see.
And with that, you guys got a booth space in Penn Market, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What spurred that?
Well, it was kind of when we were still in the phase of trying to get into the liquor stores. We wanted to have that personal place that someone could go to, talk to us face to face, learn about the brand. So we looked in and found out that the PLCB did change some of the liquor laws back in like 2016 to give more freedom to PA brands to reach out to PA customers. Okay. Part of that change was you were allowed to do farmers market stands. So when we learned that, we started looking into the local ones. I mean, Eastern and Central Farmers Market are the ones that most people know about.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just due to demand and how many people are trying to get stands there, we couldn't get in at the time that we wanted to. And Penn Farmers Market's actually, I believe, the oldest farmers market in Pennsylvania, but they're kind of in the midst of a reboot, revival type deal. The building's going to be getting renovated. There's some apartment buildings going up in the outskirts of the neighborhood. So we were able to get in there and, you know, kind of like what we're doing with the brand, building it from the ground up. Like, we're trying to help be part of the Penn Market revival as well.
What does that space give you? I mean, you have an opportunity to interact with people, but what are some of the perks for you guys to be in there? What do you like about being in the market space?
It's just another great way for like local York residents who haven't heard of the brand. You know, they walk by, they see our stand, it catches their eye. I mean, most people are just shocked to see alcohol in a farmer's market to begin with. So, I mean, they come over, they want to learn more, and then once they find out that we're from York and that we're local, that really has an impact on people because, like we were talking about earlier, people like to support local now. They like to keep things like around their hometowns, home neighborhoods, things like that. So it's more of a kind of like a neighborhood outreach booth as opposed to like something that we're focusing primarily on sales from. I mean, we'd obviously love to cover the rent for the booth by selling enough bottles to justify it, but as long as we have people coming in that don't know about Holla and they leave knowing about the brand, then we're happy.
And it gets you out of the house.
Yeah, that's another thing.
This is your unofficial office location.
It is, yeah.
What are other things that you guys want to do? So what's on the horizon otherwise that, you know, with any goals that you might have or new things that you want to try?
Gosh, we're pushing as hard as we can on every front. I mean, we've got the Penn Market stand. We maybe open up another market stand at some point. Bringing on new bars, new restaurants, new breweries, places that are willing to try us where, you know, customers can actually taste the product and, you know, then go purchase it from there or, you know, bring it home and share it with friends kind of thing. There's a lot of opportunity in the state, and I think we're just sort of getting started at this point.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of our future goals, we kind of have to coincide with like reining in how many different opportunities there actually are. Because I mean, we're getting suggestions from friends, families, investors all the time. Like, hey, I know somebody that has a restaurant out in this area or this state. They'd love to have you. And it's like we have to kind of pace ourselves. We can't just keep jumping into every state that somebody knows somebody that has a bar in. Like, we have to have a calculated kind of system to how we're approaching this. So that's part of it too, just making sure that we keep ourselves in check and don't get to a point where we can't handle our own growth.
Yeah. In terms of your growth, you guys have relied heavily on the branding for Holla, and it's really something that sets you apart. It's very distinct. I mean, we've talked about that in the other episodes. You wanted to create this vodka that resonated with millennials, with a younger generation, because there wasn't one that did. So now that you've had this out there for a period of time, how is that resonating with people? What do you see coming in because of the messaging that you're doing?
Yeah, we get a lot of good feedback. It's actually, it's really, it's fun to see and meet different people at these festivals or these tastings. And we've had a few people. This is how we met. Our sales director, Calcia, came on this way. She approached Matt at a tasting and just said, hey, love your brand. I'm interested in hearing more. Tell me about it, that kind of thing. Can I be a brand rep? And turns out it worked out really well. We get emails and Facebook messages and Instagram messages. You know, hey, I like what you guys are doing. It's kind of long overdue. And that's just all encouraging to us. You know, we're transparent. We put it on our website. We know people, you know, they'd either love us or hate us, and, you know, we'll take the ones that love us, obviously, but it's just fun to see, and obviously motivates you to continue the mission that we're on, to sort of change the conversation in the vodka space, which just, again, historically hasn't really been authentic, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah.
You guys, you create a ton of content around Holla. And you talked about social media. You've great presence on all of that. So between like balancing creating a product and bottling a product and selling that product, and then all of the other things that you do, for you guys, is it this balance of creating it and having it and then telling people about it? How do you kind of focus your energies on what it is that you need to do?
Ooh, every day is different. We've got a lot going on, and it's just kind of, like Matt said, we need to be strategic about it and kind of step back and figure out what we can handle at that time.
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate to work with some good creative teams too. So, I mean, we don't literally need to come up with every content idea from start to finish. We kind of give them our ideas, our thoughts, the directions we want to go, and then they come up with things that they think fit into that idea frame. So fortunately for us, I mean, early on we did have to create every little social post we made. Now we have people helping us out with that, so that definitely assists us.
Yeah. We've talked about it at different points in our conversation here in your story, that you guys are really going up against the big brands. In some ways you're an underdog in that sense. How do you make sure as you grow and your brand catches on that you don't become the villain in a sense that you've been trying to fight? How do you stay true to your identity?
I see it pretty simply. We always tell people we kind of see ourselves as a craft brewery more than anything else. We're no different than that. We're just doing it with vodka. Small business trying to create a local brand that resonates with people and is fun and casual and, again, changes the conversation. We are up against the biggest and the baddest in the industry, and there's about 8 companies, I'd say, that control like 90% of what's out there. But no different than brewing. We think we can sort of have an impact, and I think that consumers just need to be aware and do their homework to check into the brands, because some of the new local stuff or craft stuff is actually owned by the big boys, and that's something that we discovered and are proud to kind of disclose and know and trust your brand. And I think us, that it's not our style to be villains at all, and we're just going to grow slow and steady and see where it takes us. But for me, this is as fun as it gets, so I don't know, I'll let Matt chime
I mean,
in.
I think as long as you're being authentic with people, and I mean, like, the big brands, the part that turned us off to them is just the fact that what they're selling you is just whatever's been working for them the last 10 or 20 years. There's not as much innovation or creativity with what they're doing. So we feel like we kind of have a leg up in that area where we can kind of go out on a limb, do a little more edgier things, because we're not necessarily as scared as they are of like offending our existing customer base. It's like we know we have a newer, edgier like fan base that's following us, and that gives us a little more creativity with how we can approach it.
You're starting from scratch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gives you some flexibility. So people, to be able to buy the products, you've not had a tasting room, which has been kind of the thing of like, we've talked about microbreweries or other craft places that pop up.
Yep.
But you've had visions of certain things. Can you give us a sample of what that idea would be, and would that be a thing for Holla?
I think, again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. It's a distraction for us. We don't know. We're not in the bar business. And again, the tasting room, in our opinion, sort of, you've seen them all right now. A lot of them are very similar, wood paneling, iron bars, that kind of thing. That's not Holla. You can see that in everything we do. If we were to do it, it would be more like Austin Powers style. I think bright walls, bright floors, bright bottles, bright lights,
some
black
fur.
lights. Yeah, some fur on the walls, that kind of thing. But that's where our e-commerce strategy comes into play, where we're going to bring that tasting room to your living room. So we're going to ship you that vodka. You can enjoy it with your friends, and the people that couldn't otherwise come from Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Scranton, where have you, in Pennsylvania to visit, or even Baltimore, we'll ship it direct to your home, and you can enjoy your spirits there. And
I don't think
simplifies
people
it for us.
people don't realize, like, when you do the tasting room idea, I mean, you're essentially either starting a small bar or a small restaurant to coincide with it. And I mean, that's a completely different industry.
Sure.
I mean, the actual food service, bar, restaurant industry is completely different than running an actual liquor company. So it's not one of those things where in an attempt to make a tasting room, you essentially like double your organizational responsibilities, because now you're not only running a liquor company, you're also running a restaurant or a bar.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you guys have had enough complications with the liquor
Yeah,
industry
we've had plenty
to
of
maybe let that one
referrals.
sit for a while.
Yeah.
So for you guys, you had an idea. You've obviously put in a lot of the work and the grit and determination to get from where you were and the transitions that you went through in your careers. So how much of where you are would you say has been based on your skill and ability to adapt, or just luck of the draw and things fell into your lap?
50-50, I would say. We've been lucky.
That's pretty fair.
We've definitely been lucky along the way. A lot of hard work. Obviously, we talked about like building pallets at midnight and labeling and everything else that we've gone through. But we've met a lot of good people. Rhiannon, Calcia, we've got a team that is just all as dedicated, all as passionate, all as aggressive as anybody you meet, and it all comes down to that.
I think like an accurate way to put it would be, getting the product ready for market is pretty much all work based. I mean, if you have the money and the labor, I mean, you can, and obviously if the legislation works in your favor, you can make a product that gets it ready to put it to market. The luck is having the right connections, the right timing, so that you fall into a place where you actually, get accepted onto the shelves of the state stores. So, I mean, I think what he said about 50-50 is where it comes in. I mean, we put the grit and the hard work into getting the product ready, and we luckily met the right people, had the right connections, and got into a position where we could actually get it onto the shelves in the fine wine and good spirit stores.
Awesome. Well, you guys have gone through a lot
Yeah.
in the past couple of years,
Searching
and
through this.
I think it's really exciting to see how you've grown. I'm excited to see you guys bring things back to York and to continue to grow in York. It's been really cool to see the support that you've gotten here in the local community for people who notice that you're rolling up your sleeves and putting in the work and want to see you succeed in doing that. So thank you for coming and sharing your story with us, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. It was a blast.
The Holla Story is a co-production of Holla Spirits and Our York Media. It's produced by Will Hanlon and Caleb Robertson. You can learn more about Holla Vodka at their website, hollaspirits.com. I'm Rebecca Hanlon. Thanks so much for listening.